Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. We're in Farmingdale, New York, out on Long Island. This is Rob Cunningham. Daddario is the location that we're at here, and we are looking at a bunch of really cool accessories. Rob, thanks so much for sitting down with us.
No problem.
Man, glad to be here. And you've been blowing me away. I mean, we took the tour of the accessory factory and looked at some of the innovative stuff you guys are doing. It is really amazing.
It's fun here. It's like Willy Wonka's shop.
Yeah, exactly. We were looking at kind of the wall of accessories, like I need that, I need that, I need that, I need that. I mean, it has to be fun.
It is fun,
You know,
and that's kind of our goal. So we try to just do unique products that people don't have yet or people desire, and
Right.
we try to get them to use as much of our stuff as we can.
Yeah, well, of course.
Our evil plan.
Of course, right? Taking over the accessory world. But the cool thing is that really, we were talking about this earlier, there's an innovation in virtually everything that you guys do. I mean, where do the ideas come from? How do you come up with the idea
That's kind of our motto. We never want to put out a product that's just what we call a me too, which is exactly the same as one of our competitors. When we go into something, we look at everything on the market and we just try to see what's missing, what can we do to improve the situation, what can we do to make the musician's life easier,
Right.
What products aren't out there that the musician's dying to have.
Right.
So that's always our mindset. And everyone in this office is pretty much a guitar player or some type of musician. We all are still gigging, and that's where most of our ideas come from. Someone
Right.
comes across a problem on a gig, and then we kind of, all right, what can we make to solve that problem for you?
Right.
And we just get a whole bunch of products out of it.
Right, right. And you were mentioning earlier that some of the products are coming in conjunction with design anyway, from Ned Steinberger.
Yes.
And Jim Daddario are working together to come up with some of these.
Yeah,
innovative
those
things
two.
too.
You put those two guys together in a room, and you just sit back and watch the sparks fly.
Right.
There's a lot of brain power when you put those two guys together.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of tuners with Ned. A lot of our capos were designed in conjunction with Ned. And the two of them just work together amazingly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what we have here in front of us on the table are, first of all, we have sneak peeks of a couple of new things that are on the way out, and then some products that are pretty interesting that I wanted to take a look at with you. So why don't we? What do you want to start with? Why don't you kind of run with the ball here?
All right. So a typical example of the way we wanted to improve and kind of offer something unique. This is just your IEC cable for your amplifier. We just noticed a lot of players, you could buy a $3,000 guitar head and you get a $2 power cable with it.
Right.
And they're only 5 feet long, so if you do a full stack, it doesn't even reach the floor. And even when you do a half stack, half the time it barely gets you to the wall. So we did a really, this is a 12 gauge copper inside the wire. It's 10 feet long, so you don't have to worry about needing an extension cord or a power strip or something.
Right.
And then also what we did, we added a pigtail at the end. So this would go up to power your amplifier, of course. This is the perfect length so that you have another outlet that lays down on the floor. And then you plug this into the wall, of course. But at least you get an extra accessory outlet for maybe your pedal board or another piece of gear, which is a convenience thing. Like back in the day, all the vintage amps had an outlet in the back, and they don't do that anymore.
Right.
So we get that to you here, but it's also great because now you're plugging your pedal board and your amplifier into the same outlet, and you can avoid some potential ground loops or noise issues if they're into two different outlets on two different circuits.
Smart. Very smart. Yeah.
So that was just the way, we beefed up the wire and we added an accessory outlet to try to do something different than the typical replacement cables that are out there.
I like it. So speaking of power, this is brand new, right?
Yeah, so this isn't even out yet. And again, we've been asked for a long time to do a power strip, and we used to have one years ago. So we kind of did the same thing, like what does a musician need in a power strip that the typical home person doesn't? And we really came up you need the wall wart spacing, of course.
Right.
And then we found that the biggest two issues was when you buy a typical, narrow one, from the weight of all the different plugs, it's always tipping over and falling over on you. So we gave this a wide footprint so that there's no falling over on stage. And then also when you're going from gig to gig, usually by the time you get to your next gig, the cable of the power strip is all over your bag and kind of unraveled.
Yep.
So we wanted to have a built-in cable management so that you could just throw it in your gig bag and it comes out exactly the same way for your next gig.
Nice.
And it has circuit protection. It lets you know that you have a good ground. Has a circuit breaker built in. But the main thing was just having a stable footprint, and then having the built-in cable management to keep it neat when you're transporting your gear.
Right. That's awesome. Great solution.
Yep.
Well, moving on here, let's see. Tell us about this. Also another new product.
Another new product, so this will be coming out soon. We don't even have a date for this one yet, but it's a replacement cable for your wireless, which, you know, a lot of times you do have to replace those cables eventually. Our unique take on it was that we used our DIY plug on this end so that you can adjust the length. So now, without having to know how to solder, you just have to know how to use a screwdriver, which most of us know how to do, hopefully.
We can manage that, yeah.
You can adjust the length, so now wherever you wear your pack on your strap, you can get the perfect length going down to the guitar and not have that big loop that usually catches on a drum stand or a cymbal stand or something like that, right? And then also, you know, most guys are playing bars and not the Garden where they have a wireless pack for every single guitar they own. They're going to be switching guitars using the same pack, so we put a mute switch on the plug so that you can mute it while you're switching guitars and keep it silent and not have to go reaching up and trying to find the mute switch on your wireless pack. It's right on the plug.
Right.
Makes it handy for you. So that's, you know, again, how we kind of gave our unique twist on a product that's already out there.
Right. Smart. Smart. Now this product has been, was this the first product that you guys came out with as an accessory?
Probably yes.
I think that's
that is definitely one
Jim
of
was
our.
telling me earlier.
Yeah, I think that's the first one and the longest running product, and I mean still selling hundreds of thousands a year, year after year after
Right.
year.
So this is the Pro Winder, and it combines a number of functions into one item.
Yeah, and again, I mean, and this is where Jim kind of started with, you know, I believe he was just changing his strings one day and kind of realized, like, I always have to have a wire clipper and I always have to have a string winder every time I change my strings on the guitar.
Right.
You know, why not put them together and have it all in one thing that could be in your guitar case.
Right.
Year after year, we sell. I mean, it's unbelievable how many we sell of these things, and I think every guitar player has one of these in their gig bag somewhere.
At least one, yeah.
And it's one of those things that you just kind of buy one for every guitar case that you have and just leave it in there, so it's always always handy.
Even acoustics, because it does have the pin puller.
Yeah, it's got the pin puller. It has all the different winders, so you could do a guitar, you could do the mini tuners, you could do a bass because it has the open slots on the side, so you can do the bass tuners. Even though we do have a bass version as well. But it's really a do-it-all for your string changing.
Nice, awesome. And what's different about this strap?
These two kind of go together. So we have the universal strap lock, and then we have the auto lock. So we were working with Ned Steinberger on this, trying to develop a new strap lock that could go on any strap. By accident, he came up with this. So we kind of got two products out of one. And it's really just the simplest way to have a built-in strap lock to a strap. So this is essentially all you have to do. And it's on.
Nice.
And it's not coming off. You know your guitar is secure. You don't have to go changing the hardware. You can use your guitar's existing hardware. To take it off, you just lift up on the lock and pull it off. But the main thing is just how easy it just goes on the guitar. In 2 seconds, your strap is on and it's secure.
Yeah, and you don't have to mod the guitar like you said. I think that's a great solution again.
Right, because not everyone wants to change the hardware on their guitars.
Yeah, right.
For the people that don't mind changing the hardware on their guitars, we came out with this strap lock system here. And the unique problem that we really wanted to solve is, you know, these strap locks, they work great, they protect your guitar, but kind of the hardest thing is getting them on the actual strap.
Yep.
You usually have to end up cutting the strap or, you know, getting tools out. And so we wanted to make that process easy. And really, this is as simple as it is. You just line up this tab with the slot in any strap that you're using. Make sure the collar goes all the way through, which is quite easy there. And then you take the locking mechanism and you screw it in. And that's it. We just installed it. It's done. It has thread locker built on, so it's not going to back off and come off the strap. And then you just pull up on the knob, and it releases the pin.
Nice.
And that was really the main problem we wanted to solve. It's just making it easier to get it on the actual strap, so you're not fighting with your strap lock.
I think that's brilliant. Nicely done.
We've all been there.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. I thought this was also really interesting, the pedal power kit.
Yeah, so we already have the DIY pedal powers. You know, for doing the audio cables, that makes it really easy to make the perfect cables, you know, perfect length and everything, make your pedal board real neat. But the power cables were always the sloppy part because you're using a set length, and then if your one pedal is right next to the power supply, you kind of just have to wire tie it up and tuck it under someplace.
Right.
So now you can do a custom power cable as well. So again, you just cut the wire to the perfect length to get from your power supply to your pedal. You screw on the plugs. Again, it's just a screw that you have to loosen up. You put the cable in, you tighten the screw. You put on the jacket, and all that does is prevent shorts because a while ago someone decided to make all guitar pedals the opposite of what the whole world is,
and
make them tip negative.
Right.
So that just prevents shorting. And then we give you the screwdriver, we give you the cutter, and then because we are dealing with power, you want to make sure that you make a good cable. We give you a tester.
Nice.
And you can do the power cables on one side, and then it has 1/4-inch jacks on the other side. You get 2 green lights, you're good to go. If something happened, a red light would go up, and then you know that just to make that cable again, but it really doesn't happen. But since we are dealing with power, you want to make sure that your cable is perfectly made before you put it on the board.
Right. These are low voltages. I mean, there's no danger there with the power.
No, it's really,
you just want it to work.
Right, and you don't want to put, some pedals, you don't know how they're going to react to a shorted cable. You don't want to damage the pedal in any way, so you just want to make sure that it works properly before you put it in.
Right, very cool for custom pedal boards.
Yep.
Right on.
And then we showed you across the street in the on the factory floor how we make the American stage cables. Mm-hmm. Again, we did all kinds of audio tests to really nail the tone of the cable and the way we solder the cable. This solder connections is virtually indestructible. You really can't undo it. And then the one really unique feature is that we changed the shape of the tip to actually lock more secure into any guitar. You really get a really nice click, and you know that the guitar plug is really in the guitar and not going to fall out on you. And you got a secure connection.
Yeah, and we talked about earlier how some guitars you plug the same cable into 2 or 3 different guitars and it fits differently in all
It does, and that was really the spark of of why we went there, because when we were testing the cables, we had a whole bunch of guitars out, and we noticed that. And then Jim had us dive into finding a solution for this. And what we found was that, there's just slight variations in all these different jacks. And depending on where the contact points are, it actually affects the way the plug connects, whether it's tight, whether it's really loose, whether it crackles a little bit.
Right.
So by changing the shape a little bit, we were able to make up for all those little tolerance changes. And now you get a really nice secure connection in every single guitar that you plug this into.
Nice. And you were also saying that the solder joint is actually stronger than the cable itself.
It really is, and it's amazing how well it worked out. So, most people undo the braid on their cable and make like a little wire out of it and then solder that on. We actually leave the braid intact and solder it onto the cup. So we actually get a 180-degree connection of soldering. And what happens, the solder actually wicks into the braid, and you can't destroy this. I mean, you could pull on this till the cows come home, our old expression.
Right.
And you just can't break it. And we have done pull tests to try to find out how strong that solder joint is, because usually the solder joint's the weakest link of your cable. And the actual cable breaks before the solder joint gives out.
That's amazing.
Which is kind of unheard of.
Yeah, but gives you that feeling of security, knowing that knowing that you're going to have contact there, regardless of what happens on stage when you step on the cable or whatever. And
it's just dependability. So that at every gig you're going to go to, and the cable's going to perform, and you got enough things to worry about when you're on a gig. Last thing you need to know is if the cable's going to make it through.
Right, man. So much smart stuff. I mean, this is just a fraction of all the products that Daddario is making for guitar players and bass players.
Yeah, and we always, we always try to throw our unique twist on there and try to find a new solution for a problem that we all face.
Right, and I don't think really, we think about, well, it's an accessory or whatever, but that's the stuff that makes the gig easy, like you were saying. It's what makes it, you plug in and you know it's going to work and you go, and it's simple and you don't have to be distracted by any of that stuff.
You can be the calmest person, and when the second you step on the stage, you got so many things to think about. Like, we don't want you to think about the gear. Worry about learning your lyrics.
There you go. That's important. Great to see you, man.
Same here.
Appreciate it. And thank you for joining me. This is Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. I am coming to you from Farmingdale, New York at the Daddario factory.